Okay, everyone, I'll preface this by saying I'm sorry I did not get this out last night. I tried to get everything done here, and my dad and I were ripping on this for the most part of yesterday, and then came back out today and got back to it, but this is how you strip a car. There's still more stuff that needs to come out, obviously, but it came out today, got out the motor and transmission, wiring harness. We took the radiator support here in case I ever end up needing one. Gonna also use and pull that driver's side fender. This one's got a pretty good wrinkle in it, so I'm just gonna let it go with the car. My dad's gonna grab the brake booster and master cylinder setup over there for his car because he has ABS, and he's gonna convert over to non-ABS. I'm also going to drop out the whole front sub frame here and steering rack and everything, and front struts and everything else that goes along with that, upper and lower control arms. But what's going to happen is I got to arrange when the guy that's going to come get the car, pick it up to haul it for me. I'm going to take the car out in the driveway out there and then prop it up in the front, strip the front end, and then he can pick up and drag it up onto his rollback and take it away. Well, actually, before he takes it away, after that, we're going to get all the rear end bolts and everything loose so that the rear end is ready to just fall out. So he'll drag up the car by the front that has no suspension, drop it down, we'll jack it up, yank the rear end out, and drop it down on the rollback, and then he can haul it away to the scrapyard. Everything is pretty much stripped that's usable or wanted. My dad's going to be putting a turbo 350 in behind his B230. So he took the shifter handle for that setup. I think he's going to modify. And I took all the other instrument cluster and stuff like that. It's pretty much gutted. The carpet's not worth keeping. The seats aren't worth keeping. Well, I'm going to keep the seat racks. That way, if I ever decide I want to get nice seats for the 244, like some Sparcos or Recaros or anything, or even for the 242, then I can do my usual bolt the seat rails down and weld up and all that crap that I usually do. Make seat brackets. The back seat is only pretty much useful for the wagon, but it's ugly, tan, ripped anyway. I also have to grab the fuel pump out of the tank yet. That's an AEM 320 liter per hour pump. So here's the good news, and it's wonderful news. The motor, pulled it out, ripped it apart, and this is just wonderful. This is just slime, but there is zero bore ridge in these bores. Nothing at all. This is great. So this block is going to get used. This is a big rod motor. Tops of the pistons, everything look absolutely wonderful. There's no piston slap, no side-to-side movement. It did have a leaking head gasket. Right here was leaking. Right here, signs of the head gasket. What I did was the car was factory NA, obviously, and I threw a turbo kit on it with an odometer that had stopped working at like 225,000. I don't even know how many miles were on this thing, but I threw a turbo setup on it and beat the crap out of it, and it's no wonder it popped what looked to be the original head gasket. But it was leaking, I believe, out right here, and this corner was also leaking up here, and may have been around this bolt hole, or the coolant passage here. It may have been leaking here. When you were first starting the car, you could see steam coming up from right here, and you could see steam coming out over here. So I definitely had head gasket leaks. There was a little bit of oil contamination in the coolant when I drained it, but other than that, it looked pretty good. So I'm going to go through it and redo everything, regasket and seal and all that fun stuff. Oil pan gasket, rear main seal, head gasket, intake and exhaust manifold gaskets, front seal, cam front seal. I put my ridiculously expensive, for some reason, through a Volvo dealer, rear plug for the cylinder head for the turbo, or for the 240 application. And what else? I'm going to cut apart my breather box, cut it in half, clean it out, and then put in some AN fittings or something to a nice AN line. For a catch can setup, I might drill and tap this for extra crankcase ventilation. And then this motor is going to get set up with a stick behind it, an M46. I don't know how much power it's going to take, we'll find out. But I do want to, again, I want to stick a Holset HE351 on this and have fun with it. So with this and the M46 and this rear, which I think might be a 410 gear set in this, I can get a Detroit locker center section for that. I might do that. A True Track. There's a bunch of different options I could go with that. I mean, I could weld it, but they're not really easy or fun to drive in the wet/snow, which living in the Northeast is frequent, especially in the winter months. So I'll probably try and find something. These are still the winter tires on there. These are studded snow tires. I drove this in the winter, ran like a champ. So we'll pull out the little rod motor from the 244, the transmission that's making noise, and the rear end that's making noise. Put this fresh, awesome motor back in with a redone going over cylinder head by benchtop port and polish on intake and exhaust. Clean it all up. IPD turbo cam, which is laying over here on the bench. Got an IPD turbo cam ready to go in it. It's in great shape. Throw a Holset on it with a 90 plus manifold. I'll show everything then as far as how I do it all. Make a 4 or 3 inch downpipe. Got to throw a wideband in the car, and we'll go from there. So let me know if you want to see anything specific. Since I'm redoing the whole car again, I can kind of show you from when it's yanked out, or in the building process, certain stuff or steps that you'd like to see, or fabrication of specific parts of anything, and I can try and show you if you'd like. So I will talk to you guys again shortly after I order some parts for this motor, all the gaskets and seals and everything, clean it up, start to put it back together, and we'll go from there.